The anti-populist politician with populist appeal. Martin Schulz, he has what it takes to be Germany's next chancellor. Does he have what it takes to beat Angela Merkel? I'm Brent Goff in Berlin. This is The Day.
No matter in which party alliance, we want to provide the Chancellor of Germany. Martin Schulz is the right candidate.
He's got the best chance of becoming Chancellor.
He knows how to campaign. He's done it before and been the top candidate for Europe, so he knows what to do now for Chancellor, no question. We enter this election campaign to protect our social cohesion, and through that social cohesion to defend democracy. That's the job of the Social Democrats.
Martin Schulz can count on my support.
Also on the show, Donald Trump and his big, beautiful wall on the Mexican border. We'll talk to an immigration expert about the concrete and the cash. That's coming up later. We begin the day with the candidate who wants to move into German politics all the way to the top. Martin Schulz wants to be Germany's next chancellor. Now, his name is already known from Athens to London, from Madrid to Berlin. After more than 2 decades in the European Parliament, it's now Berlin where he wants to wield power. In the polling data, it looks good for Schulz. He is considered the best chance that the SPD has at toppling Chancellor Angela Merkel. But those same polls suggest that even Schulz will end up falling short at the ballot box. But as we all know, a lot can happen between now and Election Day in September.
One thing has become clear at this meeting of the Social Democratic lawmakers in the Bundestag. Martin Schulz has become a symbol of hope for the SPD practically overnight, and now he is willing to deliver. The newly declared candidate for Chancellor has one message he wants to get across: make Social Democrats great again. The SPD wants to lead this country, and of course that means that we, no matter in which party alliance, want to fill the position of Chancellor of Germany. Schulz, who successfully led the Social Democrats into the last European Parliament elections in 2014, set the tone today for his upcoming campaign. The Social Democrats want to be once more seen as the party that fights for social justice and sides with ordinary people. A strategy designed to position the party against Angela Merkel, but also to regain ground lost to right-wing populists. In the history of our country and our party, there has always been a protective barrier against the enemies and destroyers of democracy. That barrier is called the SPD. Just the words they wanted to hear. The relief within the SPD parliamentary group could not have been greater today. We believe that the nomination of Martin Schulz will be a successful starting point for the upcoming elections. He's highly credible, he's someone who understands the problems of ordinary people and who speaks their language. On Sunday, Martin Schulz will be officially proclaimed candidate for Chancellor by the SPD's party executive.
Well, I'm joined now by Dagmar Freitag. She is a member of the Bundestag's Foreign Affairs Committee, and she's chairwoman of the German-U.S. Parliamentary Friendship Group. She is also a member of the SPD party, that is the party of Martin Schulz. Madam Chairwoman, welcome back to The Day. It's good to have you back here on the show. You sit on the Foreign Affairs Committee. You know the enormous credibility that Angela Merkel enjoys around the world. After Brexit, after Donald Trump, she's considered the free world's, the safest pair of hands, if you will. How could any candidate dream of unseating her right now?
Oh, well, we will have to wait and see, of course. But if you watch the recent polls, it doesn't look too bad for Martin Schulz. I think it was the right decision my party took yesterday.
And what are those numbers? Because they just came in, right?
Yes, they just came in, I think, some minutes ago. If people could elect directly the Chancellor, it's 41 for Angela Merkel and 41 for Martin Schulz. I think that's somewhat surprising for everyone.
So that's kind of a dead heat there. You were at the SPD special session yesterday afternoon when the announcement was made that Martin Schulz would be the Chancellor candidate. Describe that. You had no idea.
It was not a special meeting. It was our regular meeting on Tuesday afternoon. And everything looked like business as usual when we went into the room. And, then we heard the news from Sigmar Gabriel himself.
And you weren't expecting Martin Schulz's name to be thrown into the ring?
No, not at all, especially not yesterday afternoon.
How would you describe Martin Schulz?
Oh, well, he comes from North Rhine-Westphalia, like me, so we know him very well. I think he's a person with a very high credibility. He represents Western values and he represents anti-nationalism. So I think this is very, very important in days like these.
The Berlin newspaper, the Tagesspiegel, today wrote that Martin Schulz has the best chances of winning because his life story is exactly what the SPD needs to connect with voters. And they say Martin Schulz, like the SPD, has been so low, he has seen the abyss. He once wanted to kill himself. Now he wants to be the Chancellor. Is that the storyline that you need to defeat Angela Merkel?
Well, maybe, but anyway, it's not bad to have such a story. He knows about hard times in life. And this is what many, many people feel themselves as well. And I think they rely on him, that he is able to feel their ideas, their thoughts. And I think his reliability is a very good plus for him.
You say he may feel their pain, and he's being sold as somewhat of an outsider, but he really isn't an outsider, is he?
No, not at all. He is in the middle of our party. And I think when I think of the reactions I got from party members yesterday, there was a kind of, I would say a kind of relief and an idea to fight for this candidate.
So you're convinced then that he is the right candidate in September?
Definitely, yes.
I want to talk with you about what is happening on the other side of the Atlantic as well. I want you to take a listen to what Mr. Schulz said earlier today about the United States.
In these times of societies drifting apart, we're also seeing nations drift apart. We're seeing policies, at least as they were announced in the campaign, that puts the United States on the path of isolationism. So more than ever, the central necessity of German foreign policy is the cohesion of Europe and closer cooperation between Europe and other regions of the world.
Are you and your colleagues, particularly on the Foreign Affairs Committee, are you preparing for a confrontation with the U.S. under President Trump?
Well, nobody really wants a confrontation, but all the signs we get from the U.S., or we have got so far, tell us that it won't be easy. And there will be hard discussions, definitely. I'm deeply convinced about that. But of course, we have to look and find ways to communicate to each other. So we have common values and we should share them in future as well.
You and I talked, when was it, late last year, after Trump had won the election.
Right.
I'd like to replay a short part of our conversation about Mr. Trump. Take a look at that.
If you listen and believe what President-elect Trump says, he's talking about a radical paradigm shift, something we haven't seen since, the end of the Cold War.
Definitely, that's right. But on the other hand, there can't be a reason to act now in a way that's not sensible. We have to talk about it, we have to think about it, and we have to deal with a new challenge. That's our task, and I think Germany will play its important role, and I think we will have to.
How do you feel now?
Well, not very differently, but of course we know a little bit more meanwhile, and if you think of his latest idea to start building the wall between Mexico and the United States. So our worst ideas seem to come true.
The British Prime Minister, Theresa May, she is flying over to meet with Trump on Friday. Trump has talked with India's Prime Minister, Narendra Modi. And we hear that the German Chancellor, Angela Merkel, that she is reportedly still waiting for an invitation from Mr. Trump. How can that be?
Well, I'm not able to answer that question, but I think it's a sign, of course. If you look at Great Britain and the Brexit, and Trump definitely supports Brexit, so it's not surprising he invites Theresa May as the first Prime Minister. I think it's not a good sign for the rest of Europe.
There are some parties in Parliament that are demanding the Chancellor declare the country's strategy in dealing with this new U.S. administration. They want her to actually write it down and put it out in a paper. Is that the right way to deal with President Trump?
I think we do not know enough. If you listen to his new administration, we know about the ministers. Some say they are supporting NATO, for example. Mr. Trump doesn't support NATO. Obviously, he doesn't. There are so many opinions we have to find out and to figure out. So I think it's a little bit too early.
The Trump train, we hear that mentioned a lot, has arrived here in Europe. What impact would you say that Trump has already had on democracy and social cohesion here in Germany?
It's somewhat difficult to say, but you see, even in Germany, we have a populist movement. You know about the party AfD,
That's right.
and we have the same or comparable movements in other European countries,
That's right.
in countries of the European Union. And I think we can't deny an impact on what has happened in the United States on Germany and Europe.
I asked you last time, before we said goodbye, I'll ask you again this time. Is Donald Trump Germany's friend?
That's really difficult to answer. I wouldn't dare to give you an answer now. Ask me in a few months again.
Well, we're going to take you up on that.
I think so.
Madam Chairwoman, Dagmar Freitag, member of the Bundestag's Foreign Affairs Committee and Chairwoman of the German-U.S. Parliamentary Friendship Group. Madam Chairwoman, thank you very much for being on the day. We appreciate it. Come back.
Thank you.